I first want to just say thank you for the opportunity to be here to celebrate Mass with you this morning, both from Father Kevin, Father Kakai, from the entire administration. This is a great grace and blessing for me to have the opportunity to be here to celebrate Mass and to feed you with the bread from heaven, the bread that the Lord gives us to nourish us and bring us ultimately back to himself. So I said I'd tell you a little bit about my vocation story and how I ended up becoming a priest and the role that this place played in my life. In the summer of 2012, my family was here on a Holy Family Fest, and I'd been coming here, I'm pretty sure, since like the year 2000 or 1999, somewhere in there. And so I'd been very accustomed to everything Family Land. I knew the role, I knew the jig, I knew how everything operated. My family was at Mass, and I'm pretty sure it was on Wednesday of the Holy Family Fest, and we were sitting in the back row because I think someone had asked us to bring up the gifts. And Father Kevin was up here preaching, and I think at the time the ambo was in the center of the stage. And I can't recall for the life of me what he was talking about. But I remember very vividly that about halfway through the homily, I just heard a voice speak directly to my heart, say, "You would enjoy doing that, and you'd be good at it." And it scared the heck out of me. Kind of like my brother Max, I'm a musician, and so I had developed this plan that one day I was going to go off to college, study music, probably Franciscan, and find a great girl, have a bunch of kids, live happily ever after. That was going to be my life, and I was going to be happy doing it. And so the whole idea or thought of priesthood that totally came out of nowhere just scared me to death. Later that day, I was up at Holy Family Park and walking around the campground, and then I was walking across a soccer field, and I looked out to where the priests were hearing confessions under the trees, and I heard the exact same voice. "You'd enjoy doing that, and you'd be good at it." And it scared the heck out of me. So later, I'd kind of shoved the thought off to the side, but that evening I had the chance with the Marads program to go to adoration. And I don't remember anything particularly like wild happening in adoration, but at the time they were doing the crosswalk. Those of you who are older, you might remember the crosswalk. They'd basically give you a cross and blindfold you, and then you would be led up the Ten Commandment hill, kind of going through the passion of Jesus and living as Jesus, so you get a sense of what he went through. And by the time I got to the top of the hill, I was in tears because I was so overwhelmed with the love of God for me. And this memory of earlier in the day, you'd enjoy doing this and you'd be good at it, just kept pressing into my heart. And so I came back into Marads, and they had a whole bunch of alumni corps spread out, and they were available if you wanted to talk to them, to kind of go through your experience that you just had going up the crosswalk. And so I went to one of the alumni corps women who was available, and I shared, that was really powerful, but I need to tell you something. Like earlier in the day, I just felt like God was calling me to be a priest, and it scares the heck out of me. I don't know what to do with it, and I just kind of want to throw it out the window and not deal with it. And she looked at me and she said, Joe, I don't know you super well, but I've gotten to know you a little bit this week, and I could really see that being your vocation. I could see you being a priest. There was a lot of somersaults and rigmarole that eventually led me to entering the seminary and then to now being an ordained priest. But the reason I tell you this story is because in our gospel today, we hear Jesus say so clearly to his disciples, his followers, those who were learning from him, and ultimately would become his missionaries sent out to the world. He says, "You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world." You are the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Salt and light in and of themselves are kind of meek offerings. They're kind of weak. Like salt in and of itself, although it gives flavor, it doesn't do anything. It sits on the table until someone else decides to do something with it, right? Light in and of itself just continues to shine and shine and shine, but you don't know light is there unless an individual object or person or thing is there to be shone upon. Right? So salt and light in and of themselves are pretty weak offerings. Yet, when salt and light are in the hands of God, great and beautiful and wonderful things can happen. going into our first reading too, we hear the story of Elijah, who he's in this dry land, there's been no rain, there's no water, and then the Lord sends him off to this widow who also doesn't have anything to offer. All she's got is this little bit of powder, flour, to make bread, and God says, go, there's going to be a widow who can give you bread, and she's like, all I got is a handful, I got nothing to give you. And yet, God provides and pulls through, right? There's enough bread for Elijah, but then there's enough for the widow and her son to eat for an entire year after she thought the last bit of bread was going to lead to her death. So we've got this sense of the weakness of salt and light and how they can't do anything unless there's something else there provided for them. And then in our first reading, we've got this sense that there's very weak vessels that God says, listen, trust me, I've got this. As a father now, one of my favorite things to do is encourage my kids. And so I want to encourage you this summer to take the posture of Elijah, the widow, salt, and light. It's kind of a weird thing to suggest, but here's why. As missionaries and ministers of the gospel, none of us have the ability to lead people to Jesus under our own power. We're just too poor. I don't know about you, but I know in my own life I have plenty of weakness and sinfulness and reasons why I shouldn't be able to be a priest, to be a Christian, to be even a person alive. I've got way too much going on in my life to say, like, I'm not worthy of that. And yet, the Lord enters into all of it. He enters into the brokenness, the weakness, the woundedness, and he says, listen, I know it's all there, but I want to enter into you to redeem it, to transform it, to make you new, and to make you worthy. It's not going to be by your own power that you're worthy, but by my power working in and through you. And so I was thinking about the life of a missionary, or alumni corps, or service corps, or Catholic corps here at Catholic Family Land, and what's going to unfold for you throughout the summer. I was imagining what it would be like to live or to work in the Mama C snack shack, and to just be salting the fries and scooping the ice cream, and how after you've scooped that 1,000th scoop, you're going to think to yourself, why am I here? What good is this doing? I was thinking about how when you're up at like 11 at night for the 20th night in a row, and you're just trying to clean that last toilet in the bathhouse, or you're trying to make sure the kids behave themselves or get home to their parents in their cabins, you're going to think to yourself, why am I here? What am I doing? I was thinking even what it would be like for Catholic corps who've maybe been at this for a long time, and you're tired, and you're just getting to the point where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of great life happening here at Catholic Family Land, and things are really taking off. We've got 6 fests to celebrate this summer, and it's going to be amazing, but I've been doing this for 30 years, and I'm tired, and Lord, I just don't know how this is going to operate. I expect some of you actually feel that way. The Lord is saying, listen, like Elijah, like the widow, trust me. Trust in my love. Trust in my goodness. Trust that as my salt and my light, I'm going to use you. I'm going to make sure that you flavor and shine upon that which most needs you the most. One other example that I forgot I was going to share. I hear there's a bunch of women living in the Emmaus house this summer. Is that true? Kind of got stuffed in there, yeah? That's another way. Like, you're going to be thinking to yourself, why on earth did I choose to live with this many women in this one house this summer? Stories like mine, stories like so many others who have found their vocations here, that's why you do what you do. You may never see the fruit of your labor. I never told anyone other than that one alumni corps that I was thinking about the priesthood. But the way in which people took care of the snack shack, took care of the pool, made sure confessions were being heard, made sure that the grass was cut, that the weed whacking around the cabins was being done, all facilitated for me that one moment of encounter in the back row of this auditorium where God was able to speak into my life and say, I choose you to be my priest. You may never know the way in which your activity or your work directly affects, but don't doubt the fact that God will use you to bring great joy, love, mercy, and possibly even vocations to our world. So, That's a long-winded way of saying, know that I'm praying for you because you've got great opportunity available to you this summer. To not work under your own power, although that will be a temptation, but to constantly turn to Jesus, who is so excited for you, to be his hands, his feet, his salt, and his light, to bring transformation into the hearts of children and parents and families who so desperately need it, because the work that you do here, if united with the work of Jesus, will bring great transformation, joy, love, and peace to our world.